The armed forces flags the recent activity of Chinese vessels in at least 3 areas that are well within Philippine territory. Metro Manila could experience tighter water supply as reserves in its main water source continue to decline. And the NBI chief has apologized over one bureau's event that featured a sexy dance number. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The Philippine military is reporting more sightings of Chinese vessels in the disputed waters. The AFP Western Commander Westcom said at least 48 Chinese ships were seen swarming the Iroquois Reef on June 30. The reef is located south of the oil and gas-rich Recto Bank, which is still well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Over at the Sabina Shoal, another part of Philippine territory, 3 Chinese Coast Guard vessels and 2 People's Liberation Army Navy ships were also spotted. Westcom will be submitting a detailed report on these incidents to concerned agencies who handle sea disputes. The armed forces also reiterated its call for Chinese vessels to stand down and refrain from swarming Philippine waters. Meantime, U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines Mary Kay Carlson also called out the Chinese Coast Guard's dangerous maneuvers in the Ayungin Shoal. In a tweet, Carlson said that China's irresponsible behavior in the South China Sea threatens the security and legal rights of the Philippines. The U.S. envoy also called on China to comply with international law and the 2016 arbitral ruling that invalidated the superpower's sweeping claims over the disputed waters. Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry insisted that Philippine vessels were the ones intruding into its maritime territory on June 30. Beijing said the Chinese side's maneuvers were, quote, professional and restrained. Exactly 1 week ago today, Beijing's Coast Guard tailed and blocked Filipino vessels, which resulted in a near collision. And in other news, authorities are warning of reduced water supply for Metro Manila as the reserves of the Angat Dam almost hit critical level. As of 6 a.m. today, July 7th, the water level in the dam is at 180.45 meters, or less than half a meter above the reservoir's minimum operating level of 180 meters. With this, the National Water Resources Board, or NWRB, is cutting the water allocation for use in households and irrigation. 90% of residential and business establishments in Metro Manila source their water from Angat.
Sa kasalukuyan po kasi sa NWSS po ay 50 cubic meters per second. Pag bumaba po yan ng 180, babawas po tayo ng alokasyon ng hanggang 48 cubic meters per second po para sa Metro Manila water supply. At para naman po sa irrigation na kasamang TED, ang alokasyon po ay magbabago din po, no? Mula 28.5 ay magiging maximum po ng 20 cubic meters per second.
Now, in line with that, the NWRB has put in place some interventions to mitigate a water shortage. Aside from tapping deep wells, the agency is also looking at cloud seeding to enhance rains around the Angat Dam.
Kasama po yan, no, sa tinitingnan na pinag-aaralan ko kasamang TED kung sa kailangan ng isagawa. Sa ngayon, pinayagan na rin po natin, no, ang NWSS at mga konsesyonaryo na i-operate po itong mga deep well na kung pwede po makatulong ito kahit paano dun sa pangangailangan natin tubig na hindi po direkta nanggagaling sa Angat Dam.
In line with that, the National Irrigation Administration, or NIA, is also bracing for the impact of the reduced water allocation from Angat. NIA's Regional Director Josephine Salazar noted that around 25,000 hectares of land in Bulacan and Pampanga will be affected. As part of their solutions put forth, the agency will be mobilizing shallow tube wells and will be distributing water pumps to affected farmers.
So yung dati pong 30 CMS na ibinibigay sa atin, yung ay magiging 20. So equivalent po nun around 10 CMS na reduction. Pero assured po tayo dun sa regular na 15 CMS na everyday po niyang i-release. So medyo magkakaroon din po tayo ng epekto doon sa mga nakatanim natin. Around 25,000 hectares po kasi yun eh.
We're bringing you more stories after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The National Bureau of Investigation has apologized for the agency's event that featured a sexy dance number. Last week, the NBI held a two-day command conference for the Bureau's personnel. This was followed by a fellowship where the controversial sexy dance happened. The NBI chief, Menardo de Lemos, said he had no idea that the dance was part of the Get-Togethers program since he left right after the conference ended. He has vowed sanctions for those who brought the dancer to what was supposed to be a wholesome event.
Naging offensive man ang pagsasayaw na ito noong June 30 after the command conference sa sensibilities ng ating mamamayan, lalo ng ating kababaihan. Hindi ko kami na kung anin. Pinapaimbestigahan natin ang pangyayari kung sino ang nag-imbita, nagdala ng dancer. Hindi kami mag-atubili. We will not hesitate to dismiss. Dismissal is the penalty. Pasensya na at hindi na mauulit ito.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other headlines. President Bongbong Marcos has signed the new Agrarian Emancipation Bill. This measure will write off loans of farmers amounting to some 57.5 billion pesos. The debt condonation covers more than 600,000 beneficiaries of the government's agrarian reform program. The country's unemployment rate fell for a third straight month. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported unemployment falling to 4.3% in May, equivalent to 2.17 million jobless Filipinos. The latest figure is an improvement from the 4.5% or 2.6 million jobless Filipinos logged in April. And 8 out of 10 Filipinos have little to no knowledge about the Maharlika Investment Fund. A social weather station survey in March showed that only 20% of adult Filipinos have relatively enough understanding of the measure. The MIF bill, which is up for President Bongbong Marcos' signature, will have an initial capital of 500 billion pesos coming from the Bangko Sentral, gaming revenues, and 2 government-owned banks. Pop star Britney Spears said that she is traumatized after being slapped by a security personnel of the San Antonio Spurs. Reports have it that Spears was on her way to a family dinner when she spotted Victor Wembanyama, the #1 draft pick of the Spurs. Hoping to take a selfie, the singer approached Wemby and tapped him on the shoulder. But she was suddenly slapped by a member of the Cager security detail, sending her eyeglasses flying and nearly knocking her to the ground. Wemby's bodyguard has since apologized. It is not yet clear if the 41-year-old pop star will press charges. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is trying to convince American pop star Taylor Swift to bring her Eras tour to his country. Trudeau tells Swift, "Don't make it another cruel summer," hoping that Canadians will see Swift soon. The Eras tour covers over 100 concerts in the United States, Mexico, Europe, Asia, and Australia, but none in Canada. So far, Swift has earned $30 million from the tour, which has the potential to generate a whopping $4.6 billion in consumer spending in the United States alone. And Warner Brothers Studio has defended the controversial map in its upcoming Barbie film. According to the studio, China's 9-dash line as seen in the movie has no intended significance and is simply a, quote, whimsical, childlike crayon drawing. Warner Brothers added that the so-called doodle only meant to depict the main character's make-believe journey from Barbie land to the real world. Recall that Vietnam has banned the film for featuring a map showing Beijing's sweeping territorial claims in the South China Sea. Here in the Philippines, the Movie Television Review and Classification Board, or MTRCB, is still deciding whether or not to allow the filming of the screening of Barbie. One News Now will be back tomorrow at 7:45 a.m. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News. All sides, all the time.